Hi, folks. I'm Sean Crabtree.
And I'm Cameron Bailey.
We don't want to change the way you do business.
We want to change the way you're thinking about your business.
We want you to have better results, happier clients, and make more money.
Let's get it started.
Hello, and welcome into the show. As you know, I am Sean Crabtree.
And I am Cameron Bailey.
And we are here to talk about one of the most important conversations we can have. And that is a big enough why.
Did you know, Sean?
Yes.
How many entrepreneurs would you think would be out there in the United States of America?
I would think the number's small.
It is very small. Only 8% of the population in the U.S. has the title of entrepreneur. 27 million people.
Out of
330
million.
330 million. Only 27 million of those people actually consider themselves an entrepreneur. Why do you think that would be, my friend?
Well, I think that goes into I did a little research on the big enough why.
Yeah.
And if you look at why, there's a lot of information out there. You know, why is it that entrepreneurs don't grow their business? And, you know, there's lots of good information, but here's what I found. You ready for this?
I'm
the
ready.
Number one thing, this is from an article from the Harvard Business Review. The number one reason that you said there's only 8% of the population is entrepreneurs.
8% of the United States population is entrepreneurs. I would say that 10% would probably be, truck drivers maybe? I mean, you know, 8% is a small percentage
small number.
when you consider the occupations of an entrepreneur.
And so I researched, why is it that those who consider themselves entrepreneurs don't grow their business? Number one thing that I found is they avoid risk to maintain their current lifestyle. Now, I would submit that the same thing could be true with why are there not more entrepreneurs? Because people are out there avoiding risk.
Yeah.
And I would submit that all of that boils down to you don't have a big enough why.
Exactly.
Because if you got a big enough why, all of a sudden
the risk gets small.
Right. Because the purpose outweighs everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, you know somebody like that.
I've got a great story.
And I know somebody like that.
I've got a great story. A good friend of mine. I'll just tell a story. A good friend of mine, he used to be a police officer. There's nothing wrong with being a police officer. I know plenty of police officers. But, you know, his occupation was he was a police officer. And, you know, he really avoided risk, I would say. You know, he lived his life to
I think he pulled us over on the interstate.
Yeah, he did.
No, he did. I remember that.
Oh, I know. Yeah. But he pulled us over one time for fun. But, you know, I guess I've talked to him a lot about this because he's really both sides of the coin. He started out as a police officer as his occupation. And, you know, he tells me the story. You know, I used to go home at night and play Xbox games and, you know, had no responsibility and, you know, got up and went to a job, you know,
avoiding risk,
punched the clock and got insurance benefits and got paid a salary.
Didn't have big enough why.
He didn't have a big enough why. So about 4 years ago, he had his second child, his son, and his son has some challenges. He's in a wheelchair, and he'll probably be in a wheelchair the rest of his life, and has a lot of challenges. That totally changed his mindset. So in 4 years, he went from being a police officer,
having a safe job.
I mean,
not that being a police officer is a safe job.
No, but avoiding risk. Avoiding entrepreneurial risk. Avoiding the entrepreneurial risk.
Yeah.
I mean, he tells the story to me that, you know, immediately when his son was born and they realized the challenge of the road that laid ahead, I mean, they sold their house. Immediately sold their house, moved into an apartment. He took a job as the security person at the apartment to get less rent, to have to pay less rent. And he immediately became an entrepreneur. I mean, it happened that quick. Now he has a $1 million company that grosses $1 million a year, which, by the way, another stat, only 3% of small businesses will ever
really
reach $1 million in gross revenue. Only 3%. So
That's
4 years
amazing to
ago,
me. I did not know that.
4 years ago, he had a job. His life changed when his son was born, and his responsibility, his big enough why, was so evident that he made massive action in his life and changed. And now he has $1 million company, which puts him in the top echelon of small business owners. And he went from not having any sources of income other than his job to having, now he has multiple streams of income. He's got into rental properties. He has 6 paid for in 4 years.
Multi-unit.
6 paid for rental properties in 4 years. So you go from a police officer eating Cheetos and playing Xbox, and those are his words. He'll tell you that's what he was doing. You go from a police officer eating Cheetos and playing Xbox to now immediately you have a big enough why, and you go out and you create $1 million company from nothing, and you get 6 paid for rental properties in 4 years that are bringing in revenue. Because he told me, you know what he told me? He said, I know that I have got to become wealthy to support my son, because the challenges that we're going to have, the expense that he's going to have throughout his whole life.
It'll be the rest of his life.
It'll be forever. That is a big enough why. And you know, when I think about the challenges that I have, you know, they're nothing.
Small.
They're nothing compared to what he's going through. And I see him do it, all it does is motivate me to do more. Motivates me to get out of my comfort zone, to stretch. So I wanted to relate that story to this stat because, you know, I think that he's
definitely got a big enough why.
He's got a big enough why.
And that is motivating him. And I've met him through you.
Yeah.
And he's the kind of guy that gets up every single morning looking for I mean, I just have so much respect for him.
Looking for opportunity.
He gets up every single morning looking for something to hunt, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, you know, what is it Dave Ramsey calls it? Looking for something to kill so you can drag it home.
Yeah, go out there and kill it, drag it home.
That's the way he does it.
He came and knocked on my door. This past weekend, came and knocked on my door early in the morning and said, "Hey man, get in the truck. We're going to go look at some properties." And we rode and looked at possible rental properties because he's out there trying to kill it every single day. You know,
because when you have a big enough why like that, it trumps everything else. It trumps. I mean, it takes control of your grit.
Mm-hmm.
It controls your determination.
Mm-hmm.
It controls, you know, it's much bigger than the short-term obstacles that are in front of you.
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect.
In your comfort zone.
I have a lot of respect.
When we were looking at these properties this weekend, we were talking. He was telling me a story. He's got a daughter. The daughter's older than his son, and they went for a run. He's been trying to get her to run a little bit with him. So they run he said the first time, this is a good story. The first time they went running, she ran like a mile, no problem, straight. And she's probably 6 or 7 years old. Ran a mile. That's a pretty good distance. The next time they went running, she would run 100, 200 yards and stop.
Then walk.
Yeah, stop and walk, right? So he said, you know, you ran a mile straight the first time. Why are you walking now? And he said, what if I gave you $5? Do you think you could run all the way to that yellow house? And she said, oh, absolutely. So she ran to this yellow house, which I don't know how far it was, but it was further than what she was running at the time.
Right.
So he said, if I give you $5, will you run to that yellow house? And she said, oh, absolutely. He said, do you think that if we could, if baby Travis could be healed from all his ailments, that you could run all the way home? And she said, absolutely. I would do anything for him.
Yeah.
And he says, that is pushing yourself, you know, past what you think you can do. And have a big enough why. You know, this is a 6-year-old little girl that would run 5 miles
for a little brother
and not stop. So That's pretty awesome, man. And that, that story is something I think about quite often too. Whenever I'm feeling a little bit of plum disease, poor little old me.
Right.
That's a story I think about quite often.
So what is your big enough why? That's the question. If you're listening to this or watching this right now, if you're falling into that category where you might be avoiding risk, not that it's all about risk, but just stuck in your comfort zone. I mean, what is your why? Cameron and I just went into to an office last week who was looking for some help.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a horrible place to work.
Yeah.
I mean,
the culture's terrible. Immediately we first walked in. I mean, the culture was so thick. The air was so thick. You could cut
it with a knife.
Gosh, it's like,
And we were talking with these individual team players, one at a time, and every single one of them said something to the effect of, there's no trust. We're not on the same page. Nobody enjoys coming in, even the doctor. This is a horrible, horrible place to work. And the doctor, at the end of the day, is content to pretty much let the thing burn. I think is where we are. I mean, I hate to say it any other way, but these guys are absolutely self-admittedly in an environment that nobody enjoys. There's gossip behind the scenes all the time, like a cancer. It's just eating everybody up.
And it's showing up in the numbers. I mean, the numbers happen for a reason. They don't happen because you're tactically doing something to manipulate the numbers. When the culture is not there, there's no way you're going to achieve.
This happens to be a dental office.
Yeah, for sure.
And so if you and I walked in day one and felt it, the patients are feeling it.
Yeah.
Every single time they walk in, they're sniffing all of that out. I mean, every person said, this is a terrible place to work. I don't trust anybody. Nobody trusts me. We're not on the same page. How in the world, my question was, how in the world can you take care of your patients when you're worried about watching your back?
Yeah, there's no way.
I mean, leadership is non-existent.
You're just doing a job at that point.
There is no leadership in this practice.
I'm not going to think about it
whatsoever.
And I'm not going to address the obvious, because the obvious would make me have to communicate with my teammates, and the culture is so bad that I'm not going to, I'm not going to put an effort out there to do it. I don't have a big enough why. I got a JOB.
There's no why for all of us to be on the same page. There's no why from a leadership standpoint to want to get out of the comfort zone and fix it. And so everybody is just in this horrible, horrible place where there's no hope. Because there's no hope, then there's nothing to look forward to. And coming in every day is drudgery. One of the girls on the team told us that when you and I were talking to her, she told us that, I don't trust anybody on the team. Nobody on the team trusts me. And so I just look forward to when it's time to go and I get my paycheck, and that's it. I mean, that is the existence. Can you imagine?
No.
That is the existence.
No, I can't.
I would take help people at the highest level is gone.
Yeah.
Because they're not on the same page. There's no alignment behind a why. There is no why. Yeah. Because the leadership is not inserted a why.
So I'll do what's in front of me and what's easy, right? I'm not going to be the way I need to be successful. I'm not going to do the things I need to do to be successful.
And the bottom line is
it's called not my problem.
It's called not my problem. and everybody's watching their back.
Yeah.
Everybody's watching their back and pointing their fingers. And I mean, it's just a meager existence. At the end of the day, if you're listening to this or watching this and you are an entrepreneur, you're a business owner in some sort of service industry, the one thing that I would challenge you to do is take stock of what is your why.
Write it down.
Right. What is it that is your big motivational why And I would have that conversation with the team. What is their why? Who is it? How is it? What is it that we're trying to be? If we don't have any of that, there's no alignment whatsoever. If there's no alignment,
we're just working.
We just got a job.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, everything weighs the same, right? There's no priorities. There's just tasks.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just getting through those tasks until it's time to go. And why am I working? To get a check. A check is not a why. As a matter of fact, studies have been done.
Well, nobody does anything for money.
Studies have been done. None of us do anything over the long term for money. Money is not a motivator.
Money's a means. Money's a means to an end.
It's a means to a why.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
But the money is not a why.
My buddy's not trying to make money to make money. He's
His
trying to
why is to take care of his child.
He's trying to make money because he has to provide.
And the monthly bills that he has to pay
are phenomenal.
And he has to pay those every single month for the rest of his life.
Yes.
I mean, and at some point,
he ain't gonna be here.
He's not gonna be here, and somebody's
got to pay that.
He's going to have that
and
built up to the point that somebody else.
And he's taking that responsibility and that initiative. I mean, he is a man.
Yeah.
A man. Definition of a man is somebody that takes responsibility, right? And he is taking responsibility for his own, and I really admire that. So, his big enough why is not the money. Big enough why is the reason to go get the money.
If you don't have a big enough why, then you got to stop this week. You got to take stock. Take stock of where you are. Figure out what is it ultimately that you're trying to accomplish. I mean, what is your why that you are even doing what it is that you're doing? No matter what sort of service industry that you're in, what is the why that you are doing what you're doing on a regular basis? Look at the people around you that you care about. Look at the faces that you see every single day that you impact, and ask yourself, why am I doing what I'm doing? And take stock of that.
One more thing. If you think about it, if only 8% of the population is entrepreneurs, right? You got to get around like-minded people. Don't allow the other, what would that be, 92% of the population.
That's a good point.
To talk you into their mindset. Get around 8% that have the right mindset. Don't allow that risk talk or that comfort zone talk to influence your decisions.
And I think at the end of the day, that's part of, when you got a big enough why, you just tune all that out.
You have to tune it out. Yeah.
I mean, if you got a big enough why, it sort of trumps everything.
It doesn't matter what you tell me. If you tell me, it doesn't matter.
Tell me I can't. I
Okay.
will.
I mean, I'm not listening to you. I'm going this direction, and I've got to get there. So if I can't get there this way, I'll have to manipulate along the way to get, to still get to the destination.
Most of us, statistically, spend very little time on the why. You know what we spend time on?
What?
The how.
Yeah.
The how. And so consequently, I can't figure out necessarily how, so I don't do it.
Because I can't figure out how, I'm not going to take an effort.
Right.
Right.
For sure. And I have to be honest with you. I'm guilty of that.
Me too.
I mean, real quick, I'll tell you a story. Years ago, I had a client in Alberta, Canada. And, he had been a client of mine for several years, and he was going through the transition, selling his business. And he was going to run an ultra marathon. Do you know what an ultra marathon is? Okay, an ultra marathon, and some of you guys who are listening to this know what that is. An ultra marathon is...
They just had the New York City Marathon this weekend.
That's a regular marathon. That's 26.2 miles. An ultra marathon is, if I'm not mistaken, it's anything over... I think it's anything over 80 miles. So after 80, they just call it ultra. So it could be 100 or whatever.
Crazy. 80 miles.
So, but he was running, he was like 60 something, and he's running an ultra marathon. I thought, wow, I said, one of these days, I'd love to run just a regular marathon, 26.2 miles.
It's a long way.
But then I followed it up with, I don't know how I'd ever be able to train because I have clients in 4 different time zones, and I don't know how I would, train. And he asked me a great question. Is it about the how?
He called you out.
Or is it about the why?
Yeah. He called
And
you
I mean,
bluff.
I got to be honest with you. He did. I wasn't thinking that, and it is about the why. He basically, he goes, "Are you gonna, like Tracy? I can't remember the speaker that I listen to all the time, and I should be able to quote him, and I can't. But he says, are you living on someday Isle?
Yeah, one day I might.
Yeah, are you going to get it done? And so, long story short, he challenged me, and so I set a date, and I ran that because he helped me get in touch with the why. So, what is your why? Here's our challenge. Here's our challenge to you.
Is this our takeaway?
This is a takeaway. Here is the
prophecy. The prophecy.
Take this week. Take some stock. Soul search. Look at the people around you. Look at the faces that you spend the majority of your time with. And ask yourself, what is my why? Get in touch with that. Maybe talk to your team. Get in touch with their why. Use that why as your driving force. Use that why to then, as we say, sow the seeds of higher client care. Do that, and you too will reap the rewards of higher profitability. Thanks for joining us this week. Don't forget to comment. Let us know what you like, what you don't like. Yeah,
feel free to share
it. Subscribe on YouTube. Check us out on Facebook, and find us at www.thecrabtreegroup.com. By the way, one more thing. If you like what you're hearing, then text Crabtree to 66866. Crabtree to 66866, and we'll put you into a really cool program that you get a lot out of. Thanks for joining us this week. We'll see you next week. I'm Sean Crabtree. This is my business partner, Cameron Bailey.
I'll see you guys later.
Take care.